Welcome to Roalesk Apex Hybrid. As far as our opening hand goes, yeah, we're going to keep on this one. I love it. We've got Kodama's Reach, Soul Ring, Wild Speaker, Hydroid Krasis. This is everything, especially in the Simic matchup, the mirror match. You definitely want to have as much power as you can. So let's go Soul Ring. That's going to be 1 mana. Get down Soul Ring. Come back here, Roalesk. And then anything else, we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. But yes, definitely sound these Simic alarms. It is Roalesk versus Tatyova. Hopefully, everybody has a lot of card draw and just get some busted stuff on the battlefield. That is going to be name of the game. Let's go Kodama's Reach. It's going to be green. And then 2 off of Soul Ring. There we go. And I think at this point, we're definitely going to grab another green source. Let's grab Forest, and we're going to grab one more island. That way we can split it down the middle. I'll put Forest onto the battlefield, Island into our hand, and let's go for Harbor. And then we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. So we're playing Roalesk Apex Hybrid. Flying and Trample, whenever Roalesk enters the battlefield, put 2+1 counters on another target creature you control. Then whenever Roalesk dies, Proliferate, then Proliferate again. Playing against Tatyova, Druid. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and you draw a card. And, oh my gosh, I don't have Tatyova in here. She's going to be added to this deck later. I was just about to talk about how just good Tatyova is sometimes. We go Island. Yeah, let's just go Gurk Wild Speaker. I kind of like doing that. We go Gurk Wild Speaker. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. We go for the +1 to untap up to 2 lands. That's going to give us 4 mana. Yeah, and we'll simply just go and pass the turn to our opponent. Let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Let's say that you want to build your very own Sound the Simic Alarms deck. Be sure to check out MTGOTraders. They will certainly take care of you. They've got all the Tatyovas that you may need, or the Edric Spymasters, anything like that. And also, shout out to inkgaming.com. You can use coupon code JOLT to get 10% off your order, or click on the link down in the description below to have that coupon applied. And type in Jolt 539. You can see some of my cool playmat designs in the search bar on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do this. So we're gonna go 1, 2. We're gonna get this this life gain, this card draw kick started. So let's go untap up to 2 target lands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, I like this. That's gonna be 4, 7, and that's gonna be 8. Yeah, I think we'll leave you up. You know, if we run into like a cantrip or something like that, I wouldn't mind having that last little piece of mana up. That's going to be 1, 2, so that's going to be, X is going to be 6, that's going to be 3 card draw and 3 life gain. And Cold Eye, okay, we'll take that. Opponent's got an island down, so we can certainly make that work. And then anything else, we're going to pass the turn over our opponent. Last but not least, I started a Patreon. So if you'd like to contribute to that Patreon, there's a link down in the description below, and get your name at the beginning or the ending of the credits. And if you can't, hey, no problem. No pressure to do so. Just tell somebody about the channel. So there we go. Now it's officially free time. We can have some fun. Now, as far as this Roalesk deck, this is basically kind of like a starting point, since he is just kind of a good stuff commander. You know, one of the main things you do want to keep in mind with and look at this. Oh, opponent's got Vorinclex in the hand. Ugh. So we need to keep that in mind. It's not going to be fun for us to fight around. I'd really love it if we can find some sort of counter magic. Sky Diamond, okay. So I guess at this point, Cold Eye might help. So we go Island. Yeah, and we really need to kind of deploy some creatures out right now. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That'll be just enough for Roalesk and Cold Eye. And getting down Sky Diamond. So let's go Soul Ring, Sky Diamond. Let's go 1, 2, untap up to 2 target lands. And let's go double green. That's going to allow us to get down Cold Eye. Because what we're trying to do at this point is get as much stuff onto the battlefield right now before that, what's his name, comes down, Vorinclex. Alright, so we're going to have Apex enter the battlefield. Let's put 2 more +1 counters, I think, onto Cold Eye, because that'll be a really good way to get some good card advantage. And then anything else, we're going to go pass the turn to our opponent. But yeah, you know, as far as this deck goes, one of the main things you do want to keep in mind if you're going to be building Roalesk is that he has the, whenever he dies, that's how you get the proliferate, double proliferate trigger. Now, in order for that to happen in Commander, if he goes back to the command zone, that doesn't get that death trigger. So something you do need to keep in mind is that to get that proper double proliferate triggers, he has to actually go to the graveyard. Now, there's different ways you can take advantage of that. It's cards like Cackling Counterpart or anything that's going to allow you to make a token copy of Roalesk is going to give you that double proliferate trigger, because that token is going to die, go to the graveyard, cease to exist in the graveyard, and then you'll be in a pretty good spot to go from there. So, but that's one of the things to keep in mind, that even if something does happen to it, you're not going to get that double proliferate trigger if he goes back to the command zone. Man, can we deal enough damage to close it out right now? Between Ronus and going for the +4/+4, we might be able to do that. So we can go the +1, draw a card for each green creature that we control. So we go, let's get down Forest. And the best way to do this right now, I think we go for the -3. Yeah, we go for the -4. Creatures you get -4, +3/+3, and gain trample to end of turn. And then we're going to have Ronus enter the battlefield. We're going to be able to double that up. I don't know if we can close it out in one turn, but I want to get as much damage in as possible right now. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. We're going to double the power and toughness. That's going to be 18. And we've got flying in the air. Oh, look at that. So it's going to be, I think that's a, no, hold on, let's see. There we go. Put him down to -4. So good game to our opponent. You can see that Vorinclex was staring us down. I'll probably still end up posting this video just to kind of show off like what this deck is capable of. But you know, this is just basically a Simic good stuff deck. We have different proliferate ways to go for, and then plus sometimes just having a flying trample creature with some sort of amplifying effect is more than enough to deal enough damage. So anyway, knock him down to -4, 14 total commander damage. Then we're going to be cashing in 12 card draw off of Cold Eye. So anyways, I'll catch you in the next Roalesk game. Welcome to Roalesk Apex Hybrid. As far as our opening hand goes, man, I would love to keep this. We had one more colored source. We have Wood Elves, and I love it, but that's not going to get it done. So let's go for a mulligan. Yeah, we can make this work. Cyclonic Rift, Mirror Mocker. Yeah, I like that. So that's going to allow us to get down Roalesk and go for that double proliferate, which is pretty much what we're looking for. And we're playing against Tribal Kai, the EDH channel. So be sure to check his channel out. I'm sure he'll be posting that. We'll get together and make sure that we post this video at the same time or the same day. That way we can make sure that you can see it from both perspectives. But yeah, let's see if he wants to keep that opening hand, and then we will get this game going. And we're going to keep on this one. No, we're not going to mulligan Devour. We're going to keep, see what the Scry is, or the Scurry, the Fever. But yeah, you know, this is Nissa in here. Gurk Wildspeaker. Let's go ahead and put him on the bottom for right now. Gurk Wildspeaker is good, depending on how I splice these videos together, if it's a longer one. But it's always... I'll explain Gurk in just a second. So let's go lead off with Temple of Mystery. Let's get the Scry going. The Scurry, the Fever, the Insanity. Yeah, we do want that on top. The Descent into Madness. Yeah, we're going to put that on top. And then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponents. So we're playing Roalesk, Apex Hybrid. Yeah, let's get these commanders out of the way. Then we'll jump into kind of deck techie talk. Flying a trample. Whenever Roalesk enters the battlefield, put 2/+1 counters on another target creature that you control. Then whenever Roalesk dies, proliferate. Then proliferate again, and that is just a tongue twister right there. Playing its God Eternal Kefnet. Flying, you may reveal the first card you draw each turn. As you draw it, whenever you reveal an instant or sorcery card this way, copy that card. You may cast the copy. That copy costs 2 less to cast. Then whenever God Eternal Kefnet dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into his owner's library, third from the top. And we can go for a turn 2 Nissa, but that would not be a lot of fun for anybody. Well, it'll be fun for our opponent. So let's go Command Tower, and then we'll go and pass turn over opponent. So we did cover both commanders. So give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Let's say that you want to sound your very own Simic alarms and build your very own Roalesk deck. Be sure to check out MTGOTraders.com. They've got all these Simic cards you may need, whether it's Prophet of Krufix or Tatyova. Well, Prophet of Krufix is banned, but not in 1v1 commander, but anyway, I digress. Anyway, be sure to check out MTGOTraders if you want to get some just insane value in card draw on the battlefield. Also, shout out to inkgaming.com. You can use coupon code JOLT to get 10% off your order. They've got play mats, and I think they've got t-shirts. I need to check. It's coming soon if they don't have it. And you should be able to get one of my playmat designs on a t-shirt, so keep that in mind. That's pretty nifty. We go Island. And do we just want to walk into a counterspell right now? I mean, I feel like Nissa is going to be a pretty good win condition for us. Not necessarily win condition, just a good value thing for us. So I think at this point, we just keep making land drops and maybe wait for our opponent just to kind of get something down. Or do we going to go for that? Yeah, let's give it a shot. If they've got a... I think we're running into a counter spell, but since we don't have any counter magic to protect it, I don't mind getting down Nissa, and if they've got the counter magic, they're going to burn it on Nissa, go for it. And hopefully that'll allow us to maybe grab something a little bit better off of Phyrexian Metamorph. And then if we can get Nissa down, just get that Scry too, that'll really kind of help us start to filter out our library. But yeah, be sure to check out Midgame, and you can also go to the website, type in Jolt539, search it up there, and you can see some of my cool playmat designs. I've got a Scry, the Scurry, the Fever playmat, which is pretty cool. Let's go for the +2, so we will get Nissa to stick, so I'm really happy about that. Let's put, I think, Island on the bottom, we'll put polluted delta on top. So that way we can at least draw into that polluted delta, give ourselves a dual source, and then go from there. And also, last but not least, I started a Patreon, so if you'd like to contribute to that Patreon, there's a link down in the description below. You can get your name at the beginning or the ending of the credits, and no pressure to do so, but if you do, much obliged. And if you can't, hey, just tell somebody about the channel. I'd appreciate it. And then that's it. It's officially free time. We can have some fun. And like I mentioned, so we're playing against Tribal Kai. Be sure to check his channel out. He puts out daily Commander 1 versus 1 gameplay videos. So if you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check it out. He puts out a lot of good content. And he was in the lounge recently where I drugged the game on long enough, so I'm sure he's hoping that I don't go for that particular win condition again this turn, but we'll see what we can do. But yeah, as far as Roalesk, let's talk about Roalesk. So if you want to see some more of this gameplay, I did release this on MTGOTraders last Friday, and so it's a pretty fun deck, and this is kind of like a starting point with Roalesk. You know, this is just a really good stuff deck. So one of the main things you do want to keep in mind with Roalesk is that whenever it dies, you get that proliferate trigger, the double proliferate. So you have to have it go to the graveyard to get that double trigger going. If you have it go back to the, if you have Roalesk go back to the command zone, you're not going to get that double proliferate trigger. So that's something you definitely want to keep in mind. It's kind of like what is not a Linda? Maybe it was a Linda. I think it was a Linda. Yeah, it was a Linda. Like just like a Linda, you have to have a Linda go to the graveyard to take advantage of that death trigger. So that's something you want to at least kind of keep in your deck building. Now, there's other ways you can get around that. You know, blue-green doesn't have the best ways of reanimating. They do have some return stuff out of the graveyard. But one of the cool ways that you can get that double proliferate is by running kind of different effects that make a copy of Roalesk. So let's say that we get Mirror Mockery onto Roalesk. That's going to give us an extra token. That's going to give us that extra trigger. And let's see what our opponent grabbed off of that Spellseeker. So opponent's going to grab a Remand, which is going to be just a really good value play. So I kind of like that. Let's go Polluted Delta. And if we want to, we can actually Phyrexian Metamorph to grab an instant or sorcery. Is that what we need to go for? Yeah, let's grab Tropical Island. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go Phyrexian Metamorph, because the instant or sorcery goes into your hand. Converted mana costs 2 or less. That's going to put us on Heroic Intervention, Delay, Cyclonic Rift. We already have that. Mystical Tutor, Worldly. Actually, I kind of don't mind grabbing Worldly Tutor. So let's do this. So let's go for Phyrexian Metamorph. And we're not going to pay the life on this one. We could, but would be a little conservative on this one. So we're going to go Spellseeker. Yes, we definitely want to use that ability. And let's get this popped out. And I think we could go Green Sun Zenith, and that could be a Tatyova. That's going to be us completely tapping out for it, though. Or if we wanted to just go for a really conservative play, not conservative, but like a just try to stick this if we can, we could try to go for a pull from tomorrow, too. You know what, I kind of like going Worldly Tutor, because that allows us to kind of jam a Worldly Tutor at a random spot. Let's go for the +2 Scry. Ooh, Primordial Hydra. Yeah, I like that. Let's put Rishkar on the bottom, and we're going to put Primordial Hydra on top of our library. And then that's going to be it for the turn. We're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. But yeah, you know, you did get the double proliferate trigger. You can use stuff like Mirror Mockery. You can even use Quasi-Duplicate. As long as you can just make a token of Rolex, that's another way that you can do that. There's other ways that you can go for it. It's something like, Mimic Vat. So let's say we have Mimic Vat on the battlefield and we exile Rolex with Mimic Vat. He's going to stay underneath that. And then that also allows you to, God Eternal Kefnet's coming down. And that's going to be the completely tapping out for it. So I think at this point, what we might end up doing is simply just swinging in at Nissa. Yeah, we'll make that trade. Yeah, I like making that trade, because we do have Eternal Witness in here to bring something back out of the graveyard, and being able to go for that might be pretty good. So we're gonna, during our upkeep, we're gonna go Worldly Tutor on Primordial Hydra, and the main thing is we don't have to worry about any sort of damage spell. Oh no! Oh, bummer! I hit the F2 button. No, excuse me. We just oh, that's what it was. We scried into it. I was thinking that we need to use it for Worldly Tutor. Sorry. We're having a Game of Thrones weekend at my house this weekend, and me and some my college friends, we stayed up a little bit late last night, and I'll talk about that Game of Thrones here in a second. So let's go Primordial Hydra. Let's go for the +2. Yeah, let's go for the Scry, because that's going to put it at 7. And then, ooh, Brainstorm. Let's put Gyre Sage on the bottom, and then Brainstorm on top. and then anything else we're going to pass the bottom. I mean, pass the turn to our opponent. Yeah, so we're having two of my buddies. They have and in fact, happy birthday to my buddies. They share the same birthday, and it happens to be Game of Thrones finale day, and I'm recording right now. So they came into town last night, and so we stayed up a little late, having some drinks and some conversation, and cooked some steaks and grilled smoked some vegetables. So anyway, I'm trying to do 100% this morning, but if I do something kind of funny, just giving you a heads up, and a little tired this morning. But yeah, and I can't remember what I was talking. Oh yeah, the Primordial Hydra. I was just got stuck in my head that we're going to use it for Worldly Tutor, but we can actually use it for, I think, Tatyova. I wouldn't mind going for Tatyova in this particular matchup, because if we go Tatyova, that's one of those spells that if we can get Tatyova to resolve and stick on the battlefield, then we just keep making our land drops. That'll really help us get some really good pressure on our opponent. Now, we do have Cyclonic Rift. We can just kind of go for a tempo play and send it back to the hand. One of the main things that we might want to do Cyclonic Rift with God Eternal Kefnet is we just kind of want to force our opponent to maybe use a counter spell when they don't want to use it. Just kind of get in their face with something. So, all right, so we're going to draw into that Brainstorm. And then look at this Primordial Hydra. Oh, we're going to be slowly working towards getting some counters on there. And that's one of the fun things about this, is that you can get a pretty good threat going. And I think, yeah, let's just go and push in with Primordial Hydra. That's going to be a 6/6 coming across. Now, if we tap out for Roalesk, we know that our opponent does have Remand in the hand. So I don't think we want to end up going for Remand. So we're going to swing in for 6. That's going to knock them down to 24. And then we're simply just going to go, yeah, we need to go for Scry. Let's go for the +2. We're going to Scry 2. Yavimaya Coast. Yeah, we haven't made the land drop, so let's put the Sky Diamond on the bottom, Yavimaya Coast on top, and then we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. Now, as far as this actual build of this deck, like we've talked about Roalesk, we can take advantage, proliferate. You can see right now where we get down Roalesk, we can put 2 counters on Primordial Hydra that's going to be able to amplify out as the turns go on. We have a little bit of Planeswalker sprinkled in here, just a little bit. Ooh, into the Royal. So, do we want to send... Yeah, let's try to jam a Cyclonic Rift on God Eternal Kefnet. Yeah, I like that. So we're going to at least kind of force them to maybe go for that Remand. If they end up going for Remand, that's still going to allow us to at least kind of, end up with Worldly Tutor or Brainstorm. Now, the only downside is with them hitting into the Royal, that's going to be able to bounce Primordial Hydra back to the hand, and that's not going to be that good for us. We'd have to retap out for it, but it's always nice to get an extra threat down, and especially if we force them to burn through that into the Royal. So let's see how they want to play this stack out. Okay, so opponent's going to go for Mana Drain on Cyclonic Rift. Nice. Let's go Brainstorm in response to that. Look at that. Look at this stack. This is a commander stack right here. Scalding Tarn and Yavimaya Coast. We have to put 2 cards back on top. Heroic Intervention is nice, but we're playing its mono blue, so I mean the hexproof could work. Actually, the hexproof works out perfectly. If they're going to go, yeah. So let's put Yavimaya Coast back on top. We'll put Scalding Tarn back on top. Yeah, because we'll draw into that next turn. Yeah, I like that. And then Heroic Intervention is going to give us that good protection from Into the Royal. Oh, yeah, look at that. All right, so opponent's going to go Mana Drain on Cyclonic Rift. And let's see if they pay for... Yeah, they're going to pay for that 2 mana if they want to. Now, we've done 2 important things right now. We've at least kind of forced them to utilize their mana during their upkeep or during their draw step. Maybe they had some other plans they wanted to do, but at least at this point, we forced them to kind of get rid of some stuff and kind of play things in a less optimal way. So they're going to go Into the Royal. Let's go for Heroic Intervention. Now, they have that Remand. At least we still force them to burn that Remand. They could actually, yeah, if it's a copy of it, they can actually still go and cast it. So either way, we're going to force the Heroic Intervention line of play and at least kind of force them to really just chew up their mana. Now, if they do end up swinging with God Eternal Kefnet at Nissa, we still have Nissa on the battlefield. And we'll see. We do know that we have a land drop on top with the fetch land, but I think we still might end up going Worldly Tutor, and I'm not sure exactly what we're going to grab with Worldly Tutor. We could actually go for Hydroid Krasis, because Hydroid Krasis would really help us out in this particular game, because that's going to be a cast trigger. So if we cast Hydroid Krasis, that's going to give us a card draw. Even if it gets countered, we still get to get that card draw, but we don't really have the great mana for Hydroid Krasis right now, but we'll see what we're going to grab with Worldly Tutor. Let's see what's going to happen with this Heroic Intervention. Okay, so opponent's going to go Force of Will on Heroic Intervention. There we go. And Tribal Kai just said, well, of course, why wouldn't you have Heroic Intervention? I know Eli is smiling right now as he checks this video out. So it's going to be Force of Will on Heroic Intervention. If you don't know, there's like this this bit in the lounge where I always have heroic intervention whenever Eli's going to go for a board wipe, and it just always feels good. And so anyway, our tribal Kai was just like, of course you would have that. Oh, and our opponent's going to end up with Jace on the battlefield. Okay, so that was a pretty fun little stack. Let's see how what we can do to kind of get out from this. Jace on the battlefield, that brainstorm ability, we really need to put some pressure on Jace. And between Mere Mockery, it's almost be better if we can get down some sort of, let's say that we Worldly Tutor for something like Eternal Witness and then put Mere Mockery. Now that does force us to start swinging in with like something like Eternal Witness. That may not be the best option for us. So let's see what we can grab. Yeah, with us not having a board state developed at this point, it's really not going to help us out too much. All right, opponent's going to go for the Brainstorm off of Jace. All right, so they swing in Kefnet and Nissa. And do we want to go for Worldly Tutor during our upkeep? That's going to not let us get that land for the turn. They can simply just go for that -1 ability to return Primordial Hydra back to the hand. I still, at this point, I think we need to make that land drop really bad. We can still go for Roalesk Apex Hybrid. Yeah, let's draw into that land. So we're going to draw into, I think it was Scalding Tarn, I think is on top. So we'll draw into that. We'll get that down. We can shock in Breeding Pool if we need to get a dual source. So let's go Scalding Tarn. Let's go and crack Scalding Tarn. I think we'll just grab an island at this point. That way we're not being super bad with that. Let's go for +2 on Nissa. We're going to scry 2, Rex Sage, and Hydra. And I guess if we end up going Hydra, that'll really force them to... Yeah, let's put Reclamation Sage on the bottom. Let's put Hydra on top of our library. And I think at this point, one of the best ways that we can really do something is by just putting a ton of pressure on our opponent. So let's go Hydra. Because what we want to do is we want to force them to go for that Jace ability. We want them to get rid of something back to our hands. So we're going to get down Primordial Hydra. At this point, we're going to let them take care of Nissa. And with the other Hydra on top of our library, we can get that down. Next turn, it's going to enter with a few extra counters. And basically, we just want to make sure that that Jace is trying to tick down as much as possible. So, oh, and then I just now realized, yeah, with the Jace, you can Brainstorm to kind of shuffle the top part of your library. Oh, that is brutal with Kefnet. Yeah, so I was actually looking at building Kefnet this morning. And I just now realized the interaction between Jace and just putting something on top and just how good that is. That is pretty gnarly. We do have Worldly Tutor, and they're just simply just going to keep putting into the Royal on top. And so I guess at this point we do need to do something about, I guess, Eternal Witness to bring back something back out of our graveyard. Maybe get down our own Kefnet, but then again they can just bounce it back. Yeah, let's still end up going Worldly Tutor. So let's go Worldly Tutor. Because if we grab Eternal Witness, what this is going to do is it's going to force them to basically keep sending Eternal Witness back to our hand. And they may not want to be doing that. I think that's kind of our only way out on this one. So let's go Eternal Witness. Now that does put us in a spot where they can go for that remand. But we'll see if that's what they want to end up doing. Alright, so we're going to go Eternal Witness on Phyrexian Metamorph. Yeah, I like that. So we go Phyrexian Metamorph. That at least allows us to make a copy of God Eternal Kefnet. And either way, you know, if we get back Eternal Witness, if it gets sent back to our hand, we can start bringing back stuff out of our graveyard. If we bring back Phyrexian Metamorph, we can... oh, are they going for Trick Bind? Oh, never mind. Oh, Disallowed. Very nice. Very nice. Always love a good countered triggered ability like that. So our opponent's going to take that one. But yeah, let's talk about the deck. It looks like our opponent's going to get down, not necessarily a lock, but they've got some really good value going at this point right now. Now, as far as the rest of the deck, if you want to check this out, it's on MTGOTraders. What we're trying to do is just basically just kind of build like a value pile. So if you have some sort of Roalesk deck that you've built and you really enjoy, like, the main thing with this deck that we're trying to do is just kind of get down Hydras and get down Tatyovas, and then once we get all these really nice utility creatures, Eternal Witness, it's kind of like a little bit like Elf Ball. We have a Crater Hoof hanging around in here. I'll probably put the video at the beginning, so you saw God Eternal Ronus at the beginning of this video, so that was pretty good. And so there's just a lot of cool things that you can do with this deck, and just having that proliferate ability with the Roalesk, it's just really nice. It enables a lot of things. If you want to go Infect, I'm not a huge fan of Infect, and Oh, our opponent went for Rite of Replication. I was like, I was so confused on what was going on, why there's Eternal Witness. But yeah, they went for Rite of Replication, making a copy of Eternal Witness. So, um, if you're keeping score at home, you can very safely check that this is not looking good box. Typically, when you're playing against mono blue, this is a very counter light deck because we just want to get a lot of value on the battlefield. So, but we had a good little stack earlier in the game. But yeah, outside of the good utility creatures, we've got Chasm Skulker in here, Flux Channeler. We've got the brand new Evolution Sage in here. So there's just a lot of different ways that, especially with Evolution Sage, if you just get some proliferate from just making your land drops. So let's say that we get down Primordial Hydra, we have Evolution Sage on the battlefield. Then we have the Flux Channeler, so we cast a spell, make a land drop, maybe something like Cultivate. So you can see there's just kind of like this weird mix of like, spells in your Simic deck to where you can get some really good proliferate that way, or just simply just making your land drops and just kind of going from there. So I'm just going to go Videlic and Shackle, so they will definitely be able to kind of gain control of whatever we've got on the side of the battlefield. And that's going to make something like Primordial Hydra or any sort of threat that we get down not going to be that good. Ooh. Okay, Mystical Tutor. Let's swing in at J. So yeah, let's at least just force the issue. So let's go and swing in at J. So see if we can't get them to trade on that Rite of Replication trigger. So we're going to swing in at Jason with Mystical Tutor. I'll see exactly what we end up grabbing. But yeah, we're just kind of in a hard, like we're just pretty much kind of not locked out, but kind of like a soft lock. So even if we get a threat down, it's going to be Videlic and Shackles. Into the Royals hanging around into our opponent's hands. So whatever threat we get down, they're going to be able to get rid of that. And yeah, it's just not going to be good for us going forward. The only thing we could do is get down Primordial Hydra, let them gain control of Primordial Hydra, and do some gnarly stuff with that. And with Mystical Tutor, and the only downside with Mystical Tutor is they know exactly what's coming. So let's just go and hold on to Mystical Tutor. And I don't think we have an out on this one, but at least we'll go and hold on to it and see if we can do something with it. Yeah, I'm looking at our list. It's probably not going to be that good. So, but yeah, let's talk about, outside of the creatures we had for the deck, we do have some pretty good planeswalkers in here. We have Zagana. That's not Zagana, but we have Tameo, which is another good way. If we get on Tameo in a board state like this, it's nice to have the option to bring some creatures back. Let's say that we get the proliferate going, we can keep bringing stuff back. So we have Tameo in here. We also have the mono blue Tameo. It's kind of the little bit more of a win condition planeswalker with her. And then just some other, just really slam some creatures down. We have Trollbred Guardian. We have Zagana, which is going to really give all of our creatures with a +1 counter on it, give them trample. So that's going to be the main thing. But let's talk about that birthday I was telling you about. So my buddies there, they wanted to have a Game of Thrones finale party today. So we're having it at my house, and we're going to be doing some honeyed chicken later on my smoker. And so really excited about that. We bought 3 whole chickens yesterday, and we're going to smoke them on the smoker. So and they've got like a honey glaze on that, so we're going to do that. His sister made some mead for the Game of Thrones finale, so I'm really excited about that. Let's get this popped out. Oh, goodness. So opponent's got Kefnet on the battlefield. We've got Quasi-Duplicate, Momentous Fall. We could Green Sun Zenith, but we're going to walk into that. I guess we just grab a counter spell. It's not the best thing that we could be doing, but at least, yeah, we'll grab our own. We'll grab Disallow. At least we'll have Disallow because they still have Remand, and they have a ton of ways to kind of stack the top part of their library. So we'll draw into that. We'll still hold on to Disallow just to kind of make it a little bit difficult for them to get their game plan going. But yeah, so we're going to be doing some. His sister made some mead today, and we're going to have a bunch of people over to watch the Game of Thrones finale. And if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, I highly recommend it. I don't watch a ton of TV, but Game of Thrones is definitely well worth the investment. It's a good show. The last season, it's been pretty good. Like some stuff happened, not bad, but there's some people that they wanted to sign a petition that a way a certain character played out. Yeah, we'll let that go through. They wanted to, like the way a character did something, but I was just like, if you kind of watch this character develop, you it's really not that surprising that something like this happens. So, and I'm trying to be as neutral as possible about it, talking about it too. So if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, you'll kind of maybe know what I'm talking about later on. But it was just a certain way a character developed, and people were mad about that. But it's just like, oh well, it makes sense. It's one of my favorite things. Like I used to read a lot of Stephen King. When I would read a lot, since I've had Magic, it's hard for me to find time to read, and so Yeah, at this point, our opponent, man, it's just hard for us to assemble any sort of. They've got supreme will to fight again. Yeah, it's just. I think we're just gonna let our opponent play this one out and kind of turn it into a commentary. But just kind of say uncle a little bit. Um, but yeah, Stephen King. I love reading his books when I read a lot. And one of the cool things about Stephen King is, he's a very character-driven author, and I enjoyed, especially The Stand. If you haven't read The Stand, you would love The Stand. It is a very good book. It's a very long book, but it's one of those books where once I got to the end, I was like, man, I need this. Like, I wish there wasn't any more pages left. Um, yeah, I think it's just going to be a slow death of God. I'll finish that Stephen King thing, and then we might end up scooping it up next turn, just because there's nothing we can do at this point. So let's just go ahead and pass the turn. But one of my favorite things about Stephen King is that, even though you may like a character, he makes you care about some of the evil villains, or he makes you care about some of the neutral people or the bad people. But there's not necessarily, like, if you think something's going to happen, like, leading up to this certain point, like, he would do that sometimes to where, you know, what you thought was going to happen didn't happen. Like, something was set up, and it's kind of cool that an author takes it in that direction. It's kind of like a left turn at the finish. So, not saying there's a left turn at the finish of Game of Thrones, but as far as character-driven stories, it's always nice to, if it makes sense at the end of the day, when you sit back and like, okay, well, I guess I can kind of see where that. And, at the end of the day, they're creating content. Yeah, let's go disallow on that. Let's force some sort of issue, because even if they go remand, that puts them on supreme will. So we're gonna go disallow on Tezzeret to try to stop that. But I think this is gonna be all right. There we go. We'll stop Tezzeret. Keep him off the battlefield. That'll put us at 16 total commander. Yeah, but long story short, check out Game of Thrones. It's a good series if you haven't started it, and if hopefully it hasn't been spoiled for you, and then you should be able to have some fun with that. Another show that I highly enjoy is The Wire. If you're looking for another good show to watch, is The Wire. That I've watched that so much from start to finish, and it just does a really good job of seeing inner city life, different things like that. So The Wire is another good show. So let's see what we run into, unless we just run into you win the game spell, which we don't have in this deck. I think our opponent's going to get it on this one. There we go. Run into Gyre Sage. Good game. We're going to save them a couple combat steps. We're going to scoop this one up. But like I mentioned, they've got shackles on the battlefield, so they can gain control. They got more than enough islands. They've got Jace. They can bounce whatever they need back to the hand, and they're just floating Supreme Will on top of their library and into the Royal. So basically, the opponent's got a soft lock, and we're just going to slowly lose to God Eternal Kefnet. So good game to our opponent. Be sure to check out his channel. He puts out daily Commander gameplay videos just like I do, and he appears in the lounge from time to time. So if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.